All right. So I think I'm got it right now. So I did that whole intro, and nobody could hear me because I forgot to plug my stupid thing in. Should have known by the light that was on. I'm just going to double check that I can. Yeah, I'm coming through now. Okay. So anyway, it's been a while. I got away from this because I have a 40-hour job and didn't put the energy into this. And, I had my wife on the weekends. And when I came home from work, I worked 10-hour days. So I didn't feel like doing anything. And on my days off, I have to catch up on other things. So I didn't get to this. But I retired at the end of July. So now I can hopefully start being more active and making more videos. And hopefully you guys will find something of worth. On this show tonight, I thought I would talk about various things. I wanted to address the Imane Khelif controversy, as it's recently come up on some goofball sites, one of them including Pine Creek Doug, whom I forgot to put in the description. Also, Matt Dillahunty. He and I had a personal interaction a while back, and it just kind of displays how sensitive he's getting over the past few years. And I don't know what's wrong with him. So I thought I would address that. And come across this new guy. Well, he's new to me, basically. I've known about him for a few months. This guy named JimBob. I think his real name might be Chris. I'm not sure. And I mean, that's been said on his show, so I'm not outing him. And I could be incorrect. So I'll go over a few things of his. And that might be about it. I'll see how long it takes. I don't want to go over an hour. I don't want to be one of those people that thinks people want to hear me for that long. And I'm not sure I'd even want to talk for that long. So let's begin with Mr. Doug, Mr. Pine Creek Doug. So Pine Creek Doug is someone that he started out as an atheist. He used a lot. Well, he's still an atheist as far as I know. But his videos were about atheism and Christianity. And he started out doing a lot of street epistemology, and he has switched more to a conservative site or conservative approach, and he brought this to my attention, and then I went and looked up some other things. But see how to do this. Present, share screen. I told you so. All right, there we go. So as you can see, he made this short little video. It may have been part of a longer video, but this is the part I saw. I don't really watch his videos anymore. They just don't really interest me. So hopefully this will work. I actually did this video, these topics last Thursday, and I had the audio incorrectly. So I'll have to be double checking this, make sure I'm doing this correctly. So this is what he had to say about Imane Khelif.
All this. My theory is that this person is indeed intersex, has some type of...
Okay, he's using theory as guess.
Disorder, mutation disorder that caused this person to be born without a penis. And so when you're born in a third world country without a penis, and then even in first world country, you assume female, right? But not so fast, like 1 out of 1,000 times it might not be. And I think that's the case here. And so raised as a female, but basically has, my guess, has internal testes, therefore producing lots of testosterone, and a development pathway that leads to being male, even though intersex. And I think that's what happened.
I told you so. Oh, I told you so.
Okay, so after investigating this, I commented on his video, such a moronic comment based on zero evidence. And, some idiots come in and say, there's plenty of evidence. Like, you don't have anything. Nothing but multiple medical reports. No, you don't. You don't have multiple medical reports. You do not. You don't have them. This person mentions the medical examination of the premier international MMA league for women. Why would Imane Khelif be having anything to do with MMA unless it's just part of the boxing thing? And I also mentioned he has nothing but medical reports and eyesight. Okay, okay. I've seen lots of women that are masculine, lots of men that are feminine, and some that can fool you. So he never, whoever this person is, Bokura, never once presented any evidence, never linked me anything, never told me what to search for. But I'm kind of good at these things, so I know how to look for things. So what it is we're getting all this stuff from one source. Okay, so we don't need to hear this, but as Doug showed the French newspaper that reported this, and this is one reporter who has claimed to have gotten hold of the medical report. And this has been, 2 weeks ago? This medical report still hasn't come out. Imane Khelif and her people have sued this reporter. So that may be why it hasn't been revealed. But why haven't other news sites gotten a hold of this? When it first broke, when I first heard about it from Pine Creek Doug, no legitimate web news agency had talked about this, not even Fox News. I think Fox News has talked about it since, but they were very careful in their portrayal. So this is just poor reporting. And let me say, again, on this website, I'm asking for evidence, and nobody gives me any. And again, here, another stupid website claiming that they have this leaked gender report. You have one reporter. I don't know how popular this French newspaper is, so I don't know whether he's this is a National Enquirer newspaper or what. But these guys are just morons, and they just don't know how journalism works. You don't base something on one report, and you can find a lot of sites put things in quotation marks, alleged, blah blah. That's them being careful because they know this is something and they just want to get clicks. So Imane Khelif, she was in the Olympics in her home country. It is illegal to be trans. It's illegal to be gay. Now, Doug claims in these countries, if you're born without a penis and you're classified as female. I don't know if that's true or not. It may be. But people just need to be careful about what they do and say. I don't know what this one was. And of course, the if it were true, I'm sure. I wish I could just double click that. I'm sure that the Algerian Olympic Committee would be denying it, because if it's anywhere true, they could potentially be in trouble. Notice here, Jacques Young, an endocrinologist, and someone who reportedly co-authored the assessment. So this medical report that this journalist had supposedly gotten a hold of, he's one of the authors. And he's saying his name is being used to spread false information and anti-trans. Now, notice here they do say suggested. I would love to find his actual words. I haven't been able to find them. If anybody can find them, please link me to them. And let me say, Imane could be a man. Well, it could be a man. So, I'm not saying all this is true or false. I'm saying that the sources, first of all, like I had a friend on my Facebook page. He's no longer my friend anymore. I didn't unfriend him. He unfriended me. But he said, well, I can tell just by looking at her, just like that guy under Doug's video. That's nothing. That's not evidence. That is not evidence. It's it can be evidence, but just because you think that Imane Khelif looks like a man doesn't mean she is. So, Imane could be a man. But the reason I'm pointing it out, this is, we need to do better. This is poor journalism. It's not something I would hang my hat on. I've seen plenty of masculine females that you could mistake as men. I had a friend in high school that was, this was the 80s. This was very early gender bending. I remember I went to an ice cream place with her, and the people that were making the ice creams were looking at her, and she wasn't paying attention, but I kind of heard the whisper, and I could read their mouths to make sure I heard the whisper correctly. They were going, "Is that a guy? She has short hair, thin, straight body, no hips, female. I mean, a woman, a girl, born a girl." So it can't happen. And I just think it's ridiculous that people like Doug, who I used to enjoy, I wouldn't say I admired him, but I used to enjoy listening to, has gone off the deep end and is either just doing this to get clicks from conservatives for, entertainment purposes, or is just using poor reasoning skills, in my opinion. So on to Matt Dillahunty. Matt Dillahunty, I'm sure if you're watching this show, you know who Matt Dillahunty is. I actually became an atheist. I should probably do a video on my journey, but I became an atheist 2001, I think. And so it was before I read anything. It was before the New Atheist, the Four Horsemen, Richard Dawkins, and all that. And I really didn't watch a lot of videos. I read books, but I really didn't watch a lot of videos. And about 2008, 2009, well, maybe later. Yeah, it had to be before 2012. But a friend of mine who does watch a lot of videos, he said, have you seen this show called The Atheist Experience? And I said, no. Oh, you should watch it. It's really good. They got this one guy on there, Matt Dillahunty. He's good. And yeah, I started listening to the Atheist Experience. And then, I liked Matt back then. And I loved Tracy Harris and was it Jen. And they had a very good set of hosts until the big fallout. And so, I listened to that. And when the fallout happened, which is interesting, if you know about the fallout, supposedly it's one of the popular British atheist YouTubers, but I don't know which one, so I'm not going to say which one. I think it was either Cosmic Skeptic Alex O'Connor or forget his name. I'm pretty sure it was one of those, because that was when they came to Texas to be on the Atheist Experience. One of them apparently posted or said something or did a video about a trans athlete, or maybe just about trans athletes, period. And there was a big blow up, and Tracy left, Jen left, I think a couple others left, because the Atheist Experience Council did not separate themselves from whoever's comments it was. And Matt stayed, which I think is very telling, that he stayed when the others did not. But yet, years later, when someone posted something about Arden. Oh, Matt threw a hissy fit because the Atheist Experience was not backing him. Oh, and then he left. When it was personal, he left. And I think that indicates something on Matt's part, that when it was someone he didn't know, he wasn't willing to make a stand. But when it was someone he, had a relationship with, then he was going to make a stand. So anyway, so yeah, I saw Matt on the Atheist Experience, and after a while, I sent him a friend request on Facebook, and he didn't respond. It was there quite a while, maybe a year or more. And he anyway, never accepted. Sorry. It's going to take me a while to get in the routine. He never accepted, and I went to the Price versus Airman debate up in Milwaukee, and he was there. He was the host, and I saw him doing a magic trick. He was walking around talking to people before the show, and he did a magic trick, and he kind of walked by me, and he just kind of didn't give me a confident smile. I think he's not as sociable as you might get from his presentation online in his videos, and that's fine. I'm not really sociable either. And I was just kind of now I know how tall he is. Okay, what he looks like in real life. That's fine. And they had the debate, and I went up to him afterwards, and I spoke to him about some people that were taking too long, because he said he was going to cut people off during the Q&A if people took too long. And I told him he was a lot more lenient than I would have been. I would have cut several people off if I had been moderator. And he's like, well, there was two. And before I got home, he had accepted my friend request. So I guess, he maybe at the time he wasn't accepting random people. And once he met me and knew, that I was a real person, so he accepted me. And we didn't interact much. I figure he's a busy guy. I don't want to pester him with just stuff. And so we didn't have much. A couple times I'd send him messages and he'd reply. And one of the most curious, shortly before we had he had his falling out, was he would used this phrase when he was talking to Christians, and when they were using abductive reasoning, he would tell them, God's not a canon explanation, and he would use that over and over. And I listened to several conversations he had where he used it. I think he used it in one debate, and I was searched for canon explanation philosophy, and I really couldn't find anything. And so I sent him a message, and I said, "Hey, Matt, I really want to learn about this abductive reasoning, which I've been looking at that, but I said I want to know about this phrase, candidate explanations, and how we know whether something is a candidate explanation or not." And he said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Candidate explanations. You've used this term many times in relation to abductive reasoning." And he said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I just thought that was kind of strange. I was like, "Oh, okay." So I left it at that. And so on, I think this was maybe back in May, April, I don't know. They announced that the Fantastic Four movie would be featuring a female Silver Surfer. Now, I was ignorant of the fact that, I've read comics all my life, but there are some series I haven't read. And there was a series called Earth X that was spearheaded by Alex Ross, great comic book artist. His works are, they're art. All comics are art, but they're paintings. They're just remarkable. He's on another level. And I was ignorant of the fact that in that storyline somewhere of that, it's an alternate reality, alternate Marvel, that Shala Ball, who was the Silver Surfer's wife, for lack of a better word, on his home planet. And in that reality, she became the Silver Surfer. And it's a very minor character. It's probably what I know about her. I don't think they've ever used her since that I know of. So I was ignorant of that fact. So I heard they were going to make the Silver Surfer female. Now, I like comic book characters to be accurate as you can be. When they announced Hugh Jackman was going to play Wolverine, I said, "What? He's 6'2" or 6'4". I don't know how tall he is. Wolverine is 5'4". That's part of the idea. That's why he's called Wolverine. It's because he's a small thing that is very threatening, just like a real Wolverine. But, Jackman won me over. He won me over, and I would not change a thing. If they ever recast Wolverine, though, I would still like him to be closer to comic accurate. Just because, short guys need heroes too. So I made this post and I said, since Marvel couldn't make a decent movie led by a female character, let's just make all the male ones change sex. In my ignorance. Now, I will say, though, I forgot about Black Panther 2. That was a great female-led movie. When the original Black Panther was released in 2017, I made a post about the strong female characters in that movie. And I said, behind every great king is a great woman, sometimes four, because I love the female characters in that movie. So let's just leave out Black Panther 2 because I forgot about it. Well, Matt jumped on. He's never really commented on my stuff before. And he says, Captain Marvel's one of the most profitable Marvel films. And then one of his fanboys jumped in because my posts are public. Said, don't tell him it's too funny. And I said, because it was advertised as leading to Endgame, which it really didn't. We could have not had Captain Marvel, and I don't think that would have bothered anyone. I don't think anybody would have been confused. And, you know, I love Captain Marvel in the comics. Many of her runs are the best ever. Many of them are written by women. And he's like, I completely disagree. But your opinion is irrelevant to the success. You're just factually wrong. Now, I'm sorry. Last week when I made this video, I had a tab queued up about some of the worst movies that have made a lot of money. So, but I can remember some of them. The Jurassic World sequels have been awful. Made a lot of money. The Transformers sequels have been awful. Made a lot of money. So just because a movie makes a lot of money does not mean it's a good movie. Now, Captain Marvel was critically well received. But Brie Larson was not. And I think over time, people have looked back and recognized that Captain Marvel was not a good film. My wife did not like it. I didn't like it. It was dull. It was boring. They took everything of merit about Captain Marvel in the comics and eliminated it, made it this dull, dry, boring. Oh, but she's powerful. Oh, she's the most powerful character because we got to do that. That doesn't make her interesting. And you can see that from the Marvels that it wasn't as successful. And even Brie Larson in an interview before the Marvels, you know, they said, "Are you going to return?" And she's like, "I don't know. Does anybody want me to?" So, you know, if the actress was poorly received, how could the movie be that good? Especially when she's the main character. So back to Matt. Are you just really posting, why can't they make a movie with a female lead that I like? Because that's pretty stupid. Well, yeah. No, that's not stupid at all. Yeah. Like I said, I love the Captain Marvel in the comics. So yeah, of course I want a lead that I like. So Matt, that's stupid for saying that. Don't you want the movie to have a lead that you like? Oh, no, I want a movie with a lead I don't like. And, you know, maybe he's talking about the actress. I really didn't know much about Brie Larson before that movie. I'd seen Skull Island. She's in that. Did okay. I didn't really say, oh my gosh, she's awful. And I said, no, why don't they just stick with accurate portrayals? And then, you know, I received a correction that somebody said they thought this was going to be alternate reality. And I said, but it's not the Silver Surfer. A equals A, and Matt should know that. And of course, my original post was hyperbole. It's quasi-hyperbole and quasi-true. But, you know, it wasn't meant to be this big dramatic falling out with anyone. And then I point out to him that he also misread my OP. I said decent. I didn't say anything about making money. And then this is where I point out to his fanboy that commented that plenty of bad movies are profitable, but it's okay that you jumped in without context. And of course, I guess he laughed at it. And he's like, Captain Marvel is decent. Well, not really. Oh, a friend of mine jumped in with some stupid stuff. So yeah, that. So, you know, and Matt reacts to my friend making these false claims he couldn't back, or these claims he couldn't back up. And Matt's just like, the stupid drips off of the sexist dipshits. Okay, you know, what Matt doesn't know is like Dustin says, you don't know me whatsoever, which is true. And, you know, I told Dustin I would like to know this source. But then I point out to Matt that Dustin literally endorses The Expanse because of the strong female characters. I mean, I've talked to him way back when The Expanse was on. And he always said how much he loved the strong female characters on it. So, you know, sexist dipshits, Matt has gotten to where if you disagree with anything in a minor way, he's going to shut you down. He doesn't want to hear it from you. and I'm going to hopefully remember to tie this into the election. So then, of course, Matt blocks Dustin because he's a coward. He's like, point to your post asking why Marvel projects with male leads aren't decent. I'll wait. Well, that's because most of the films with Marvel male leads are decent. You're going to say Iron Man wasn't a good movie. It launched the entire franchise. You're going to say all of the Captain Americas have been good. Ant-Man was fun. I wouldn't say it's one of the best, but it was better than Captain Marvel. And I let him know, point to where I said profitable equals decent. I'll wait longer, because he's like, I'll wait, and I'll wait long. You can wait forever. You know why, Matt? Because I didn't say that. So, of course, I'll wait forever, because you're a lying dipstick that can't even comprehend reading. So, getting back to the thing. Black Panther, awesome movie. Spider-Man, awesome movie. Iron Man, awesome movie. The Loki TV series, first season very good. Second season was amazing. Thor Ragnarok. Okay, the first one was good. The second one, even my wife, who loves Tom Hiddleston as Loki, says it's not good. But Ragnarok was simply amazing. I think it took them a while to get into the thing. So yes, they've made some with men that aren't that decent, but their track record with male leads as opposed to female is poor. And part of that sense in game is because they've been putting agenda before story. So She-Hulk. She-Hulk sits there in the first few episodes with her cousin Bruce Banner and literally sits there and tells him how awful she's had it. It's so awful being a woman and having to compete with these men. And the writers just ignore, and therefore the character, because the character should know that she's Bruce Banner's cousin, that Bruce Banner was sexually abused by his father. And it traumatized him. And in the comics, and possibly in the movies as well, that's why this Hulk persona came out. It was a way of lashing out, of expressing his anger that he holds within, trying to be the stoic scientist. And also he's, she turns into She-Hulk, and she really doesn't lose her anger that much. She lost it once or twice, but it's not to the level that Bruce did. And he had to literally live in isolation, away from his loved ones, away from his friends, away from his career. And she's going to sit there and complain to him how hard it is? Oh, okay. Miss Marvel, the TV series, they changed her signature powers, which are so visually interesting in the comics and kind of comedic in a way, because she will make these very large hands even though the rest of her is small. And they said they did that because of Mr. Fantastic, and they didn't want to confuse him. But she uses her powers differently. Plus, she can grow and get small, and Mr. Fantastic can't really do that. But they made most of the show about the history of Pakistan, and it was so uninteresting during those moments. Now, the Marvels, which released last November, I enjoyed that more than Captain Marvel, but that was mainly because of Tiana Paris and the girl that plays Miss Marvel. And they kind of improved Brie Larson's Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel a little bit, but they still had that dorky singing scene on that planet where everybody sings and putting people in space kits. It was just silly. Black Widow. I said ScarJo and Black Widow deserved better sooner. Now, I don't blame Scarlett Johansson for the way they portrayed Black Widow. But in the comics, I see her as a more tortured soul, and I never saw that in the MCU. And I don't think that's ScarJo's fault. I think she could have done very well with that, but they just didn't bring that across as somebody who just this haunted by her past. I just never saw that with the Black Widow. But and the movie was average. It was not well received. It was, maybe a 60 or 70 on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm not sure, which isn't bad, but they deserve better. They deserve the 90. The females deserve the 90% that the male characters have gotten. So, what did Matt say? He's like, and then, I responded to a previous comment because he didn't read my OP correctly. He's like, keep coping. No, dude, just admit that you misunderstood my OP, that I said decent, and you turned it into financial success, which is no measure of a decent film. He's performing here. I think he thinks he's always performing. Anytime he's not talking to anybody in real life, he's performing. So, did I ever insult him this entire time? I don't think so. So, I told him, I said, resort to insults. It's okay. And I showed my wife this conversation. I read it to her, and she said my wife scoffed as well about a female surfer. And, I'm like, is my wife sexist? Well, is she posting that Marvel couldn't make a decent movie with the female lead? If so, then yes. And then I kind of turn his words back to him, and I said, that's pretty stupid. And he's like, you said it. And then, of course, he hangs up on me and blocks me. Now, if he wanted to unfriend me, fine. If he wanted to say, I'm unfriending you and don't ever talk to me again, fine. But, he's just going to block somebody and run away because his whiny ass little bitch self got owned, and he knows it. And if he doesn't own it, then that's pretty stupid, and he's pretty stupid because he did. He got owned. He jumped on my page, reading something and never going back, even when I told him I didn't mention profit, never going to the OP and saying, oh, sorry, I was wrong. He never apologized. He never corrected himself. And being decent is a subjective opinion anyway. I think I could defend that if I wanted to take the time, but he doesn't want to hear that. Anything that disagrees with Matt's ideology, he's going to block you. So Matt debated Andrew Wilson, whom I had never heard of this debate. I wasn't aware that Matt made a Dillahunty. I wasn't aware that Matt made a response to this debate. I don't know if I was distracted. The job I have last November, December, that I retired from is very busy during the holidays. UPS. So, maybe when I put the video out, I just didn't have the time, so I forgot about it. I did look it up today, and I've been listening to it to try to get his rationale. But anyway, he had this debate with Andrew Wilson. I'm sure you've heard about this. If you haven't, they had this debate, and it was supposed to be, will secular humanism beat Christianity? That's what the title says. They also have it here, which has the best ethical foundation. I think one thing, if I were debating somebody, I just recently saw another debate where somebody changed the topic, but that's a bit different. But if I ever fortunate enough to be somebody worthy of being on one of these online debates, I would make sure the topic is fully understood. But anyway, they reworded it, secular humanism, which has the best ethical foundation. But you can see up here, it says, will secular humanism beat Christianity? And I have this tagged up to where Matt's talking. And so this is Matt's intro.
It should be his to regulate. Sodomy, by the way, is anal or oral copulation, which I have it on good authority, heterosexual folks engage in as well. 2022, he presented what was called the Don't Say Gay bill, outlawing any discussion of gender identity, sexual orientation, or related subjects, which was incredibly problematic because he ignored what the experts have to say about age-appropriate content and how critical it is, especially for kids under 10, which was his target, to have correct language in order to better report on and about sexual abuse. His policy, if it had been implemented, would have made it more traumatic for kids and more difficult for them to out their abusers and easier for abusers to get away with it. Happily, it failed. In 2015, he blamed abortions and the breakup of the nuclear family for school shootings. He also says the teaching of evolution is to blame for mass shootings because we've taught a whole generation, of couple generations now, of Americans that there's no right or wrong, that it's about survival of the fittest. And if you evolve from a primordial slime, what is that life of any sacred value? He wants student-led prayer back in school. So, Speaker, are you okay with Islamic prayers, satanic prayers, or just particular Christian prayers? He's opposed to the separation of religion and government, sometimes called the separation of church and state. He thinks that the founders only wanted to protect the church from the...
So did I miss it while I was checking? Matt does, in this discussion of I think it was the Speaker of the House, he mentions trans people. Gay wants to be sexist, gay, sodomy, sex, sodomy. So I may have not a timestamp, but he does. If you want to double check me, he mentions trans. So in Andrew's opening, which he had prepared beforehand, he says he's going to grant Matt's worldview. Now, he's not talking about, Matt took this to mean secular humanism is better. I wouldn't say that's really a worldview. Maybe it could be part of a worldview. But I think Andrew meant naturalism. I think it's what he meant. There is no God. And then he went on to say that in his view, even without a God, that saying someone is she and they have a penis and they just want to be called she, but saying they are a female is lying. And he said, is lying good or bad? And how is this not lying? Well, if you followed this, Matt rage quit and left. Now, there are several problems, I think, with that. And I told Matt that tonight. I said, it was wrong of you to do that. So I told Matt, he was wrong to leave that debate, that he brought up trans issues in his opening. And in Matt's video commentary on this that I started watching today, he says he knew nothing about Andrew Wilson. And I said, that's foolish to go into debate and know nothing of your opponent. Also, as you owe it to the audience, I'm sure there were people that came there specifically to see Matt. Or if not specifically, he was probably a very big part of it. I don't know who else was there. I think Aaron Ra might have been. So he, but he owed it to the audience to stick around because they paid their tickets to see Matt Dillahunty debate. Matt rage quit because he's a pansy, essentially. I've since learned that, in my opinion, I don't know Andrew personally, but I've watched a few things with him in it. I watched him talking to people. I think he's a jerk. I think he's cocky, arrogant, but at least he doesn't back down. And Matt backed down. And I think that was wrong. So Matt jumps in and says, keep supporting liars, and liars keep using you. Your opinion here is shit. So here's what I want to kind of tie it into the election. I've heard several conservatives say that they voted for Trump not just because they think he could do a better job in the economy, but they are tired of the wokeness. They're tired of being told exactly what Andrew brought up. They don't want to be told they have to acknowledge this person as a female, even though they don't think they are, which, like Andrew says, you want them to lie. And part of that, I think, is people like Matt. They are throwing these little hissy fits and eliminating anything that doesn't align with their fragile worldview. Matt blocked me for nothing. He walked out on Andrew. Yes, Andrew was being a jerk, but deal with it. I think if Matt would have walked in and used a similar tactic against Andrew with something Matt thought was wrong or lying or offensive, I think Andrew would have stuck around. He would have confronted you and he would have defended himself. Matt missed an opportunity because Andrew was sitting there going, well, I think trans people, saying somebody's a she when they have a penis is wrong. It's a lie. Okay, well, he's going to say, I'm going to grant that God doesn't exist, but Christianity is still a better system. So Matt could have nailed him on that, saying, okay, you just admitted God doesn't exist. That means Christianity is a lie. So now you're endorsing a lie just because you find utility in it. So, can we find utility in someone being called a she instead of a female? Yeah, in some instances. If somebody is really emotionally dependent on that, what's it hurt to call them a she? You don't have to think they're a she. If you can call them that. And so a lot of these people like Matt that are just shutting down, shutting out, and not paying attention to the arguments, that's part of the reason the Democrats lost the election. They weren't paying attention. There are several reasons, but that's part of it, as some conservatives have stated. We're tired of this woke shit. That's what they say. So I just think that liberals like Matt is part of the reason we lost the election. You've got to stand up to these people. You just can't scream at them. But you need to confront them rationally and explain your position. But people like Matt, you got to align with his thinking or you're out. Tell me of his the Arn Ra and the shoot, I can't think of his name, the Thinking Atheist. Well, he's not the Thinking Atheist, but the guy that does that show. What do they disagree on? What major things do they disagree on, or the things that Matt considers major? And I'd be interested to see who he really disagrees with ideologically that's not family. And even his family, he's shut out. So anyway, I just think that Matt and that type of thinking that he has, that reactionary, I'm just going to shut you down. I'm not going to talk to you because you're not worth talking to. Well, maybe not, but Andrew got a significant boost from that. I think part of the boost that Andrew's channel got was just debating or showing up to debate Matt Dillahunty. But I think he got a larger boost when Matt rage quit. If you look at his analytics, they shot up after November of 2023. And, so Matt's responsible for that. Matt's responsible for increasing his platform. And Matt states, again, in his video that he did covering this, that he stated, quote, this is from the transcript, which was generated by YouTube, so it could be not word for word, but the intent is all there. He said, all I've ever done is prepare for the subject. Said, I'd rather, apart from I don't want to walk in and wind up facing a racist Nazi. So apart from I don't want to walk in and wind up facing a racist Nazi, which is pretty much what just happened. So he said, I don't want to walk in and face a racist Nazi. He didn't take time to pay attention to anything Andrew had done online. Andrew had done lots of videos, lots of material before this. So if he would have taken the time to at least check out his opponent, he would have known he was a racist Nazi, in his opinion. I don't think Andrew's a Nazi. I can't say he's racist. If Matt's going to make that claim, if I were Andrew, I would say defend that claim, or you can see me in court. So that's on Matt. That was his responsibility. He could also blame Modern Day Debate, because I think they've been working together so long that James, the guy that organizes that, should know what type of people Matt wants to engage with. And Matt is also, that reminds me, he's a flip-flopper. He had a debate a couple years ago on Modern Day Debate, and something happened. I think it was going on the chat, and he said, because your mods have allowed this, I will never be on Modern Day Debate again. Well, guess what? He came back because it's money. That's his integrity right there. He said, I'm not coming back, and he did. And it wasn't long. It wasn't long. Maybe they worked something out in the background, but still, he didn't keep his word. So I guess that's enough about Matt Dillahunty. He's just, that really gave me a smack upside the head of how cowardly he can be. And he really needs to show up. You don't show up talking to yourself. You don't show up. You can't just live in a bubble. And that's what he does. He has people call in. He hangs up on them. He's always got the Dillahunty, you're done. But, so I know I didn't know I was going to talk about that. I said I'd go only an hour, but I'll see how quickly I can make this. I wanted to talk about this guy named JimBob. I think his real name might be Chris. So someone brought this to my attention in one of the groups I'm in. It's called Theism, Atheism, Philosophy, and Science, TAPS. You can find us on Facebook if you want to join. I don't suffer fools. I had Tangelo Grasso, you probably might know who he is, post something in the group, and for one thing, he violated one of the rules, and I also told him, I'm not going to suffer crap arguments. So anyway, we have a pre-sub that had joined the group about last January, and I think I missed a screenshot. So he posted this link to one of MadebyJimBob's videos, and I listened to it, wasn't impressed, and I pointed it out to Stephen Hoyt, who has a bachelor's degree in philosophy. And there we are. So, and Stephen Hoyt commented, I think this is on the video Arguments Against Atheism 1. And so I guess I missed part of this. I don't know where it is, but Stephen Hoyt commented, he talks about under physicalism and emergent property is one that obtains from simpler physical constituents and isn't entirely reducible to those physical constituents, and they exhibit character in their component parts, but themselves don't have. Okay, so anyway, you can go read this under that video if you wish. I hate to give more views, but there it is. So Jim Bob made this video, and one of Jim Bob's go-to arguments is how can physics produce truth? And how can something be truer? How can something in physics be truer than something else? And it's just some really boneheaded arguments, in my opinion. And I asked him one time if he had a degree in philosophy or anything, and he realized no. So I don't know where he's got his information from. He admits that his channel is for entertainment purposes. So I don't know. Maybe he doesn't care to educate himself. But anyway, Stephen Hoyt is somebody that knows his stuff, and Jim Bob doesn't know that. So it's kind of funny to read this, and he doesn't know what's going on. So he points out, mind is a set of processes and properties that arise in the function of the brain. Emergent property. Jim Bob hates that phrase, emergent property, emergent property. He hates it. So, Jim Bob replies, cool, so how did you distinguish between a mental state and a brain state and come to the conclusion they aren't identical? Further, that a mind is a set of processes says nothing. Which sets properties and processes of the mind which are not, all you have is baseless philo drivel. So he's going to dismiss philosophy unknowingly against somebody that actually has a degree on the topic, but he's going to use philosophy in ways that he thinks it benefits him. So Stephen Hoyt replies, emergent properties don't have the same characteristics as their constituent parts. That is a logical fallacy. Parts for the whole. Anyway, I forget the name of the fallacy. So mental states are produced by brain. He lists some mental states. And then he points out how childish Jim Bob is. Jim Bob is childish. I will show you in a second how he is. Stephen Hoyt points out the philo stuff on physicalist theories of consciousness pans out in actual neuroscience. And so, he's like, you need to learn about physicalism. And I really wonder if Jim Bob has ever cracked open an article on the SEP, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, about physicalism. So they go on. He's like, a physicalist view can't tell us what a mind is. Okay, well, that's poisoning the well. You're saying it's already impossible because it can't tell you what you think a mind is. He threatens he would dismantle Stephen Hoyt in a debate. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. I guarantee you wouldn't. Anyway, they go on and on. I don't know what else is, Stephen Hoyt's just constantly telling him how wrong he is, and he's trying to explain to him. Under physicalism, an emergent property is one that obtains from simpler physical constituents and isn't entirely reducible to those physical constituents, and they exhibit characteristics and their component parts don't have. Get cut off the end. I don't know what happened. So, Jim Bob again, cool. How did you distinguish between a mental state and a brain state and come to the conclusion they are identical? That's where okay, I messed up my screenshot. So that's the same conversation we've already looked at. Stephen Hoyt tells him it would be nice if you actually knew what these terms were and what they meant. So, that's somebody who has a degree in philosophy saying, you don't know what these terms mean. And Jim Bob's just going to ignore those. Of course, he doesn't know, and I don't know if it would matter to him that Stephen Hoyt actually has a degree. What happened to my thing? Must have had this backwards. This was views. I had this backwards. Okay. So Stephen Hoyt began by telling him, sorry about this, that this all relies heavily on oversimplification of equivocation, stochastic systems, possible outcomes. P can result in Q1, Q2, ... Qn. Jim Bob tries to tell him he's not arguing with the physical. But anyway, all this goes to demonstrate that when confronted by an actual person with a degree in philosophy, Jim Bob still thinks he knows more. Maybe he'll watch this and now he knows, or maybe I commented, I don't know, that Stephen Hoyt has a degree. I don't know if it mattered to him. Let's look at Jim Bob's childishness. So he has this character, and he gets on TikTok. It's called Christological. So if you're on TikTok and you wonder who Christological is, here he is. It's Jim Bob. So he got on this one thing. I don't know how to find things on TikTok. I would love to go to this thing and tell them. Because what he did, he got in here, and if you were just listening to it, he sounds very respectful and calm. Well, he's wearing this doofy wig and teeth that make him look bigger, which I don't guess is, he was doing this before he got on this website, so I don't guess that's salt. But while he's talking to these people, not only does he engage with people in the chat, but he does these little things. Watch. And he's laughing at them like,
these things don't work together. The contradiction,
because it
Oh, very
gives me
sorry.
results. Like when I think about something being spiritual, it's just like, if I can't even begin to identify what that is, how could I even talk about?
Yeah, because
with my physical mind and body,
Yeah.
what
Well,
what
I would
the talk
listen.
really is.
I think that what you're saying actually alludes to what I was pointing to.
Abrahamic deity, and with people,
a feeling of
Abrahamic. And like I said, I'm not an atheist. I'm a pagan, so I believe in multiple gods. I'm polytheistic. I do not believe in the notion of a Christian or
rolling his eyes. This is a little character called Becky. So he does that. He also has an Alex, that stupid right-wing guy who got purchased by The Onion recently. Alex, I don't know what his name is. He's that unimportant to me. But he has him screaming, and he did that sometime, and I couldn't find the timestamp.
deity. To me, that notion is far.
Which means he wasn't listening to her because he's got that stupid thing making noise. So he's not listening to her. It's just he doesn't like what she's saying, so he's not going to pay attention to her.
Fetched. It adds too much into one particular type of personality. It's combining these deities from all across different religions.
So see, he's not really listening to her. And I've noticed if it's a woman, he's generally not going to pay as much attention to you as he will a man. So he's doing these little things. He's doing little on-screen memes, that what is his name? Alex Jones. Alex Jones screaming somewhere, and he did that, and somebody made this pit, and he's laughing, he's not paying attention. He thinks he can multitask, but scientists have proven you can't pay attention to two things at once. You just can't do it. Your brain might bounce back and forth, but you don't pay attention to it. You're not giving it your full attention. And of course, I'm sure because she's a woman, he's not going to listen to her. So at the end of this conversation, she thanks him for how respectful he was and calm. It's nice to have this conversation. The entire time, he's laughing at them behind their backs, which isn't respectful at all. And I wish they would know that. And then, as you can see, I commented down here. She thought you were being respectful. Not so respectful to play silly sounds and videos to make fun of them behind their backs. And he just blows it off because he has an entertainment show. Okay, if you want to entertain, that's fine. But don't sit there and think you have, one, you haven't listened to the arguments. You don't pay attention to them. You just ignore them. They go over your head, or you just block them out, just like Mr. Dillahunty. But at least I don't think you would run, Jim. So in the group I was in, I told them I might debate this guy, and they're looking forward. But what was I going to say about this one? Here's another one of him. Forgot to unmute the other one a minute ago. Sorry about that. Free will talk he had. So anyway, that is talk about free will and whether or not you can have it with God and without God. And so anyway, he has this thing, and I just wanted to point out what he says here. So
You side with us and say, yeah, I can see how in that instance, knowledge doesn't actually refute your free will if there's some sort of secondary causality. First causality is we die, right? There's a cause that we cannot avoid.
That's definitive. That's definitive. It's the how is.
We can't. We can't. By the way, let's take another constraint. We know if someone has a choice.
I don't know why I queued this up.
Side with us and say, yeah, I can see how in that instance, knowledge doesn't actually refute your free will if there's some sort of secondary causality. First causality is we die, right? We can't. We can when they go to an ice cream shop, and it's not a.
I have no idea why I queued that up. I apologize. I think there was something I wanted to look at where he talks about somebody not presenting a sound argument, and there are no sound arguments for God. So if you're going to dismiss somebody's position because they didn't produce a sound argument, you got to dismiss your own. So anyway, I have engaged with JimBob a couple of times in his comments, and he I don't know why these are backwards, but they are. So I commented on a video about that he had about these two atheists critiquing Jay Dyer. And, I agreed that their critique of Jay Dyer was pretty poor. And I told him that. And I'd also watched another video where he, in my opinion, got wrecked. Getting wrecked is JimBob's phrase, so I like to turn it against him, by this guy named Mr. Anderson, whom I'm not sure what he's doing. And in the video, shows JimBob having a hissy fit, but I don't think it's the same video, so I don't know what happened. So he said that he'll be reviewing this getting wrecked by Anderson today, calling to defend his position. Well, I told him, for one thing, why would I defend Mr. Anderson's position? I'll defend my own. He didn't really review getting wrecked by Mr. Anderson. He just kind of whined about it a bit and went on, whatever video that was. JimBob takes a lot of his videos, pretty much all of them, and makes them members only, sometimes right after their broadcast and sometimes a couple of days. So you can't always double check these things. That's why I take screenshots of these conversations. or I started doing it with him specifically. So, I told him I'm not sure I want to platform your show because of some of his positions. I don't mind engaging with him, but, perhaps there's neutral ground we can meet. And he said, what's the difference between commenting on my page and calling it a stream? Well, I'm commenting on your page. That's not really platforming you, I don't think. No one's following me yet. And he says, other than the medium. I said, it's a stream that makes you money, not the comments. And he says, engagement produces income. The stream is just super chats. Engagement is passive revenue. Okay. And he said, if neutral ground still makes you money, you're clearly full of shit. What is the neutral ground? Name one server that's neutral. Well, we could go to Discord. We could do a Facebook chat. But, our only requirement if we did that was that he couldn't live stream it while we were doing it. Because he does that little stuff behind the scenes, which doesn't offend me, but I want to know I have his full attention. I don't want him playing around, not paying attention to my arguments. That's a waste of my time. If I'm going to debate somebody, I want them paying attention to me. So I told him, okay, if you want me to do that, you can pay me. And he commented on, a couple times he's commented on things I've said to him. But he strawmanned my comments. I don't remember how. But so I reminded him his options. Pay me to be on your show. Debate me on another platform in which you cannot live stream while we're doing it. I want your full attention, not playing with buttons in the chat. And, when I say this, I'm using his own approach against him. So I tell him he's going to man up. You're going to man up without a live stream to entertain your minions. And he has never responded, which is fine. But, he's making money debating. He's making money off this. So pay me. I'm not making money right now, but you want me to be on your show? I'll be on your show. You can pay me. No response from him yet. But, I don't think he really knows what he's talking about. I think he's more of a sophist than someone who actually knows about philosophy. He strawmans physicalism. He makes arguments from incredulity. Oh, physics can't do that. Well, really? How? Why not? And he'll go, well, how does it work? Okay, no, we're saying you said it can't work. Okay, I can't fly. I can demonstrate that. I can't fly. So if you're going to say physicalism, physics, the laws of physics, whatever, can't produce a mind, can't produce this, defend that claim, but he doesn't do it. He had a recent debate with Godless Engineer and some guy I don't know. And what they allowed him to do was steamroll them and put all the burden on them. And the topic of the debate was, can morality exist without God? Or can you ground morality without a God? So that would mean JimBob's burden in that debate would be to defend the no position. JimBob constantly kept thinking, if he could just shut them down, that he wins the debate. No, you got to defend your own position as well. So he thinks he won. He made Godless Engineer rage quit. Again, I don't know if Godless Engineer is aware of JimBob, but that's what JimBob does. He goads you. He will find things to irritate you. He thinks that helps him win because he is not an honest interlocutor. He is an entertainer. He's admitted that on the show. This is for entertainment purposes. I'm an entertainer. I'm just here to entertain. Okay, fine. Pay me to provide your audience entertainment. So in future videos, I'd like to, I had an interaction with James McGrath. He's a Christian, sort of Christian scholar. I would also like to cover some more mythicism. I don't know. I don't know what I'll do, but I wanted to get this out. I didn't advertise this, so I didn't have any live viewers. That's fine. I just wanted to pontificate. So I've realized I use so a lot, so I have to stop doing that. But anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope I provided some entertainment. We'll see what kind of responses I get from others. We'll see if anything develops on Imane Khelif. Could be a man, could be something. But thank you for watching. Bye-bye.